Ladies and gentlemen, patience is not passive. It is not weakness. It is not silence in the face of disrespect or fear to act when action is required. Patience is power under control. It is the art of knowing when to wait, when to hold firm, and when to strike like lightning with wisdom in your hand. Tonight, I want to speak about the kind of man who has mastered that art, the kind of man who walks through chaos with calm in his spirit, the kind of man who can endure, persist, and outlast everything designed to break him. A man who is a master of patience is a master of himself. Now let me tell you what makes such a man. You see, there's a kind of man who doesn't flinch when the clock ticks. He doesn't scramble when the deadlines creep closer or the pressure starts rising. He moves with purpose. He walks with understanding. That's because he truly knows that time is not his enemy. Time is his ally. And that shift in perspective, that changes everything. While others rush to prove something, to show they've made it, to demand attention for a moment of glory, they burn out. They chase moments, not missions. But the man who respects time, he knows the difference. He knows that real value doesn't come from urgency. It comes from intention. He doesn't sprint just to feel movement. He builds brick by brick, day by day, without fanfare, without applause. He's not looking for a shortcut. He's not begging for a handout. He's not even worried if anyone sees him at all, because he understands the truth. Silence is where growth happens. You don't see the roots pushing down into the soil, but they're doing the real work. That's how he lives. That's how he builds. Quietly, steadily, with patience. It's easy to get caught up in the noise of the world. Social media wants you to believe if you're not famous by Friday, you've failed. If you're not rich by 25, you've wasted your time. But he doesn't subscribe to that lie. He doesn't compare his journey to someone else's highlight reel. He's too grounded for that. He knows that greatness takes time, and he's willing to give it everything it demands. He understands that some days will feel slow, some seasons will feel empty, but that doesn't shake him, because even in the silence, even in the stillness, he knows something is happening. That seed he planted, it's breaking through under the surface. The work he's doing when nobody is watching, that's the work that matters most. That's the kind of work that lasts. And while others are out there screaming for attention, cutting corners, chasing approval, he's mastering his craft. He's sharpening his character. He's building something that won't crumble under pressure. Because he's not here to impress for a moment. He's here to impact for a lifetime. He shows up every single day, not because he feels like it, but because he made a decision. And that decision, that's more powerful than any motivation. Because when you decide that you're going to be consistent, that you're going to be disciplined, no matter what, it doesn't matter what the world throws at you. You keep going. He's not afraid of the long road. He embraces it because he knows that the man who stays focused, who stays faithful to his vision, is the man who wins. Not because the world handed it to him, but because he earned it with grit, with grace, with grind. And one day when that breakthrough comes, when the doors open and the results finally show, people will call it overnight success. But you and I know better. We know it was the result of 1,000 quiet mornings, 1,000 sleepless nights, 1,000 choices to keep going when quitting felt easier. That's not luck. That's legacy. He's the kind of man who doesn't fear the wait. He honors it. He understands that time reveals what effort conceals. And when the light finally shines on him, he won't need to explain himself. His work will speak. His life will testify. Because he prepared while others panicked. He sowed while others scrolled. He built while others boasted. He knows that anything that lasts is worth the time it takes to build. So he gives it all he has, knowing that slow progress is still progress, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is a part of something greater. Time isn't running out for him. It's working with him. Every second is an investment. Every minute is a decision. And he chooses, over and over again, to honor the process. So when you see him standing strong in the storm, calm in the chaos, focused in the frenzy, it's not because he's lucky. It's because he understands. He understands that time, his greatest ally, is never wasted when you walk in purpose. You see, in this world we live in, a world that's louder, faster, and more chaotic than ever, there's a quiet kind of power that people overlook. A power that doesn't shout, doesn't scramble, doesn't swing back when life takes a cheap shot. It's the power of stillness. It's the strength of the one who stands calm while the storm rages around him. Because the truth is, this world will provoke you. It will push every button you've got. It will lie to your face and dare you to flinch. It will insult you, betray you, disappoint you, and then expect you to crumble. But you don't. You won't. Because you've learned something most haven't. You've learned that stillness is not weakness. It's mastery. Now anybody can react. That's easy. You get hurt. You lash out. Someone throws a punch. You swing back. But the person who's truly in control of themselves, they don't give in to that impulse. They don't let emotion grab the wheel and take the whole ride off the cliff. They take a breath. They sit in the tension. They feel the heat, but they don't burn. They let the moment pass through them, like wind through tall grass. Not because they're scared, not because they don't care, but because they understand what's really at stake. See, when you live with purpose, real purpose, you start to realize that not everything deserves your energy. Not every fight is worth your peace. Not every opinion matters. You begin to recognize that your time, your focus, your presence, those are sacred. And to give them away just because somebody tried to rattle you, that's too high a price to pay. The man who chooses stillness doesn't do it for show. He doesn't do it to impress anybody. He does it because he's protecting something inside himself, something unshakable, that kind of control, that kind of restraint. It's not built in the good times. It's forged in the fire. It's built in the moments where you're ready to explode, but you choose to breathe. In the moments where everything in you wants to clap back, throw hands, prove a point, but you don't. Because you're not living to be understood right now. You're living to be whole in the long run. You're living to sleep at night, to look yourself in the mirror and know you didn't sell out your principles for a petty victory. You're playing the long game. And don't think for a second that means you're soft. No, it takes real strength to hold your ground in silence when your pride is screaming for revenge. It takes courage to walk away from a fight you know you could win, just because winning isn't worth your soul. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's maturity. That's power in its purest form. Because the truth is, being misunderstood is part of the journey. People won't always get why you don't react, why you won't stand up for yourself the way they think you should. But that's all right. Let them talk. Let them guess. You're not living to meet their expectations. You're living to meet your own. And if you've got peace, if you've got purpose, if you're walking in alignment with who you truly are, then you've already won something they can't take from you. So let them poke, let them push, let them test you. And you just stay still, stay grounded, stay focused, because storms come and go. But the one who stands still in the center, he becomes the calm, he becomes the anchor, he becomes the one others look to when the chaos hits. Not because he's perfect, but because he's unshaken. And in a world that's always looking for the next reaction, sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just stand there, breathe, and be. He builds in the dark, not because he's afraid to shine, but because he understands the power of preparation. While others chase applause, posting every move, broadcasting every intention, he stays quiet, focused. While the noise grows louder out there, he retreats within, not hiding, working, not stalling, building. He's not out here to impress, he's out here to improve. See, the world teaches us to rush, to perform before we're ready, to show before we've grown. But he knows better. He knows that anything rushed loses its roots, that a tree doesn't bear fruit in a day. Growth takes time. Real greatness is forged in private, not in the spotlight, but in the shadows, where no one's clapping,
where no one's paying attention. That's where he sharpens his tools. That's where he strengthens his resolve. And when life says no, when the door slams shut in his face, he doesn't fold. He doesn't break. He studies the hinges. He builds a better key. Rejection doesn't kill him. It carves him, refines him, teaches him where to aim next. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every silence becomes space to grow. And through it all, he doesn't beg for validation. He lets his work do the talking. You won't hear him coming. There's no grand entrance, no drum roll, no spotlight. But when he shows up, you feel it. His presence commands attention, not because it's loud, but because it's undeniable. He's put in the hours. He's walked through the fire. And now that the lights are on, he doesn't flinch. He's been here before, in the quiet, in the dark, in the grind, the storm. That was his training ground. The delay, that was his development. While others cursed the wait, he embraced it. While others threw their dreams away, when no one noticed, he held his close and fed them in the silence. Because he understands that patience isn't about doing nothing. It's about doing the right thing, when it's not easy, when it's not flashy, when it's not applauded. It's about persistence without praise, discipline without deadlines, passion without permission. That kind of patience, that kind of endurance, it changes a man. It teaches him to trust the process, to keep showing up when it's boring, to keep pushing when it's hard. And eventually one day, the world will catch up, the lights will turn on, the stage will be set, but he won't be surprised, because he's already done the work. He's already built the foundation, while no one was looking. See, there's power in doing things when nobody's watching, power in not needing the credit, power in walking the walk, when there's no crowd to cheer. Because in those quiet moments, that's where strength is born, that's where purpose is tested. And when the time finally comes, when the curtain rises and the world turns its eyes toward him, he won't have to act ready. He'll be ready, because he built in the dark, and now he shines on purpose.
Everybody wants to stand on the podium. Everybody wants to hold the trophy, wear the crown, hear the applause. But very few are willing to walk through the fire it takes to get there. Most people want the promise, but not the process. They want the result, but not the grind. They want the victory, but not the scars. And that's where the difference is made. Because the man who truly rises, he's not chasing a shortcut. He's not cutting corners. He's not trying to fast forward through the uncomfortable moments. He leans into them. See, the real ones understand that the journey is the making of the man. The climb is what forges character, not the view from the top. Anybody can enjoy the summit, but not everybody can endure the climb. And that's where he separates himself. Not because he's stronger or more talented, but because he's committed to showing up day after day, even when it hurts, even when no one's watching, even when it feels like nothing's changing. He doesn't skip steps. He doesn't rush the timing. He learns to be still when the world tells him to run. He learns to keep working when the world says give up. He knows that there's value in the valley, that the dark days are just as important as the bright ones, that waiting doesn't mean wasting. It means preparing. It means sharpening. It means trusting that what he's building in silence will echo one day in success. And trust, that's the hardest part, because trust means you keep going without proof. It means you stay faithful when you can't see the finish line. It means you keep your heart open, even after it's been broken. Trust means believing that even the setbacks are setups, that the delay isn't denial, that the closed door is protecting you, not punishing you. He understands that heartbreak teaches resilience, that disappointment breeds hunger, that failure, real gut-wrenching failure, is not the end, it's a turning point. And if you let it, it can be the spark, it can be the fire, it can be the very thing that makes you unstoppable. Because pain, when you don't run from it, becomes a professor. A hard one, yes, but one that teaches lessons success never will. So he doesn't resent the process. He respects it. He respects the struggle. He respects the lonely nights, the long days, the moments of doubt, because he knows something most people don't. The man you become is far more important than the goal you reach. The strength you build along the way, that's what lasts. That's what shapes your future. That's what gives your victory meaning. He doesn't flinch when life pushes back. He doesn't complain when it gets heavy. He breathes, he adapts, he learns. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow. Every no, a chance to get stronger. Every moment of silence, a reminder to listen, to reflect, to refine. And he knows deep in his bones that what is meant for him is already written, but it won't come to him while he's waiting idly. It will meet him on the path of preparation. It will arrive when he's ready, not when he's desperate. That's why he doesn't quit. That's why he doesn't envy anyone else's timeline. He's not in a race with anybody but the man he was yesterday. So he shows up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. He shows up because he believes. He believes in the process. He believes that something powerful is happening in the unseen, that the grind, the grit, the grace, it's all adding up to something bigger than he can imagine. And that belief, that quiet, unwavering belief, is what keeps him moving forward. Because at the end of the day, it's not just about the prize, it's about the kind of man you had to become to earn it. He leads with grace, not force, and that's something this world doesn't see enough of. In a time when the loudest voice often gets the most attention, when people confuse volume with strength and aggression with leadership, this man, he stands still, and somehow, in his stillness, in his calm, he commands more than the ones shouting at the top of their lungs ever could. That's power, real power, the kind that doesn't demand respect. It earns it, quietly, consistently. See, a man of patience isn't weak. Let's get that straight right now. Patience isn't some passive, fragile thing. It's not the absence of action. It's the control of it. It's knowing you have fire in you and choosing not to burn down everything around you just to prove you can. That kind of man doesn't rush to speak just to fill the silence. He doesn't throw his weight around just to feel important. No, he understands that presence, true presence, doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. Strong, steady, centered. He's the one in the room who listens first, who watches, who observes, who takes in every detail, not because he's unsure of himself, but because he's aware of others. He's aware of what they need, what they're really saying beneath the words. He's not waiting to respond. He's choosing to understand. That's grace. And that kind of grace, that's rare. You see it in how he treats people, not just the ones with power or status, but everyone, from the janitor to the CEO, from the waitress to the man in the mirror. He sees the dignity in all of them. He treats them with kindness, not because it makes him look good, but because it's the right thing to do. Because he knows character isn't built in the spotlight. It's built when no one's watching, and when someone wrongs him, when the world gives him every reason to lash out, to hold a grudge, to clap back. He doesn't, not because he couldn't, but because he knows the cost of carrying that kind of weight. He forgives, not because he forgets, but because he's strong enough to move forward without dragging the past behind him. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's discipline. That's choosing grace over ego every single time. And here's what happens when a man leads like that. People notice, maybe not at first, maybe not in the loud, flashy way this world expects, but over time, his consistency, his integrity, it becomes undeniable. People trust him. They gravitate toward him. They know he won't switch up, won't sell out, won't explode when things get hard, because he's anchored, rooted in something deeper than pride. We live in a time where speed is worship, where if you're not the first, the fastest, the loudest, you get overlooked. But this man, he's a reminder that there's power in the pause, that sometimes the most revolutionary thing you can do is slow down, breathe, think, respond with intention instead of reacting in fear.
That's not just leadership. That's legacy. He doesn't just walk into a room. He enters with purpose, not to be the center, but to bring balance, to elevate the energy, to leave people better than he found them. He doesn't need a spotlight. His life is the light. His actions, his choices, his spirit, they speak louder than any microphone ever could. And in a world that's addicted to noise, to ego, to instant validation, he is different. Not because he's perfect, but because he chooses better, again and again. And that choice, that grace, that patience, that's what makes him unforgettable. That's what makes him a leader worth following. So let me ask you this. In a world that tells you to hurry, to push, to chase, will you dare to wait? Will you dare to endure, to listen, to trust the silence? Will you dare to become the kind of man who doesn't just have patience, but embodies it? Because the man who has mastered patience has mastered power, and a man who has mastered power can't be broken. Thank you.